When you picture a dangerous person, you probably picture aggression, raised voices, threats, someone you'd cross the street to avoid. But that's not who you actually need to worry about. Psychology points somewhere else entirely. The most dangerous people rarely look dangerous at all. They look kind, calm, even caring. And that single fact is exactly why almost no one sees them coming until real damage has already been done. Here's why your brain gets this wrong from the very first meeting. Psychologists call it the halo effect. The moment someone makes a good first impression, your brain quietly assumes the rest of their character must be good too. A warm smile gets silently read as honesty. A friendly tone gets read as trustworthiness. Neither of those things is actually true, but your brain fills in the blanks anyway, because trusting a good feeling is faster than waiting around for real evidence. Picture a new coworker who smiles at everyone, offers to help before you even ask, and somehow already knows your name on day one. Within a week, without ever testing it, you've quietly decided he's one of the good ones. But a smile tells you nothing about someone's character. It only tells you that this person is skilled at producing smiles on demand. The same blind spot shows up online too. Someone posts about their kindness, their charity work, their perfect relationship, and thousands of strangers decide within seconds that this must be a genuinely good person. Nobody actually checked. The performance itself became the proof. That one blind spot is the opening, and once it exists, a very specific, repeatable pattern tends to follow behind it. It doesn't happen overnight, and it rarely happens all at once. It happens in small, almost forgettable moments, spread out over weeks, which is exactly why so few people ever connect the dots while it's happening to them. If even one of the next three signs feels familiar, keep watching, because the part after them explains why almost nobody catches this in time. Sign 1. They rarely push right away. Manipulation is almost never a demand delivered on day one. It starts small, and it starts pleasant. Extra attention you didn't ask for. Small, unsolicited favors. Curiosity about your life and your problems that feels flattering at first. On the surface, it feels like closeness building naturally. What it's actually building, underneath, is debt. A quiet, unspoken sense that you owe something back for all of this warmth. And once that sense of owing exists in the relationship, asking you for something in return suddenly becomes effortless for them, and strangely difficult for you to refuse, even when you want to. Sign 2. Guilt becomes the main tool. This is one of the most common patterns, and also one of the hardest to notice while it's actually happening to you. Phrases like, "after everything I've done for you," or "I thought you were a different person," were never really about solving whatever disagreement started the conversation. They're not attempts to fix anything at all. They're aimed directly at making you feel like the actual problem. Because a person who feels guilty is a person who becomes much easier to steer afterward. Watch closely for the shift. The conversation quietly stops being about what actually happened between you and instead becomes about how bad you should feel for even bringing it up in the first place. Sign 3. You start doubting your own memory. Sometimes after talking with one particular person, you're left with a strange, nagging feeling. Maybe I really did misread this. Maybe I'm overreacting again. Maybe I'm just the difficult one in this friendship. On its own, that feeling proves nothing. Everyone misreads a situation now and then, and self-doubt by itself is completely normal. But if that exact feeling keeps returning, specifically after conversations with the same person, over and over again, that repetition is the real signal worth paying attention to. Not any single conversation in isolation, the pattern across many of them. 3 signs, one thread running underneath all of them. Small favors that quietly become debt, guilt that quietly becomes a leash, and doubt that quietly becomes a habit. None of them look alarming in a single moment. That's the entire point. Now here's the part that makes all 3 of these so difficult to catch in real time. Most people who use others don't look anything like villains. They're often genuinely charming, successful at work, funny in a group, the person everyone wants at the party. The exact traits that make someone likable are the same traits that make it nearly impossible to imagine them causing harm on purpose, which is exactly why this pattern usually isn't recognized in the moment it's happening. It gets recognized months later, sometimes years later, usually only when someone finally steps back far enough to ask themselves, Why do I feel this exact way? Every single time, and only around this one person. It's an uncomfortable thing to admit because it means the people closest to us are also the ones best positioned to do this, precisely because we've already lowered our guard around them. Real danger rarely announces itself. It isn't loud, and it doesn't introduce itself as a threat walking through the door. So the goal here was never to judge anyone by a first impression, a tone of voice, or one single conversation taken out of context. Behavior, repeated consistently over time, is the only thing actually worth watching closely. And to be clear about something important, none of this means every kind, generous, charming person in your life is secretly running an angle on you. Most of them genuinely aren't. Psychology doesn't deal in guarantees like that, and treating these three signs as some kind of foolproof test would be its own serious mistake. What they are is a pattern worth noticing when it shows up, not a verdict to hand out about someone based on a hunch or a bad mood. So if there's someone in your life who leaves you feeling guilty after almost every single conversation, someone around whom you constantly doubt your own memory of events that actually happened, someone who somehow always ends up being owed something by you, that specific pattern is worth sitting with honestly, not to accuse them out loud and not to build a case against them in your head overnight. Just to finally ask yourself the one question you may have been quietly avoiding this whole time. Why does this keep happening? And why does it only happen with them? Notice the pattern, not the person. That's the entire difference between fair judgment and paranoia. And it's the only tool that actually works here.